YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back with my Week 4 NFL score predictions, predicting the final score for every game this week. We do this video every single week, along with our straight-up picks with multiple Goat House members. That video is on the channel. We have recaps and updated power rankings every week as well. In this video, we also take a look at some of the lines on the games and see if any of them are worth putting money on. Before we get into these games and my score predictions, we do have extra content available on our Patreon, patreon.com/thegoathouse. If you want weekly updated mock drafts or updated playoff and Super Bowl predictions, go ahead and check out the Patreon for more info. And we have a 40K subscriber goal, so please help us out by subscribing. Support's been awesome lately, so we appreciate you guys very much. But if you don't subscribe, like I said, we got you covered with full NFL and college football content all year long. Click that like button, turn notifications on, check us out on Twitter. We tweet during live games. First game of the week, went with my gut feeling here. I went with the Eagles actually scoring 31 points over the Packers scoring 28. What people expect at this point. People expected the Eagles to kind of just easily handle the Falcons and the Lions. I picked against the Eagles in that game. Kind of worked out, but now I'm kind of going for the Eagles route. People kind of expect what we've been seeing, the Eagles struggling and the Packers defense, being one of the best in football, which they have been impressive. But what I'm kind of expecting here is kind of a classic Eagles and Packers. I think the Packers offense will get going in this game. And I do like their defense for the season, but I think Carson Wentz really gets going in this game, and that is the difference. I think Jason Peters will be back, came out of the last game because of an illness, and then Dillard ended up going down too, who's his backup. But really Deshaun Jackson being out, and I know Darby's out, but corner's already their situation there. They got a solid rotation. They just don't have that top tier guy. So it's really not that much of a difference when guys like that go down, as long as the depth is there. But they could use a better piece, maybe like a Jalen Ramsey. But kind of just a gut feeling. I'm going with the gut feeling in this one over who should win, because the Thursday night games so far this year have been a little unpredictable, a little weird. So kind of just going with the gut feeling here. And the Eagles are +5, and I was surprised that the Packers were favored by that much. I still think the Eagles are a pretty darn good team, even though they looked, a little sloppy. Wentz needs to step up. I think he does in this game. I'm just worried about the run game a little bit. I wish they would use Jordan Howard a little more. I'm not a huge Miles Sanders fan. Maybe they go back and look into the Melvin Gordon trade. But went with the Eagles on this one. It's a tough call, though, especially being in Lambeau. Very tough to play in Lambeau on Thursday night. But these Thursday night games, you never know what's going to happen in these games. Next game, I got the Patriots winning 27-14 over the Bills, so pretty comfortable win here. 13-point win while they're -7. Obviously, the Patriots have put up points. I don't think they'll get into the 30s because the Bills' defense is pretty solid, but it's still the Patriots. They'll have a great game plan. I think they'll run the ball a little better than they have been, mainly Sony Michel. Been surprised that he's, the lack of yards he's been getting. I guess he could get more touches too. I think he can do, have a solid game in this one. The Bills, I just don't know if they have enough offense. I haven't been super impressed with their offense. Really, with Josh Allen, I've been, impressed with his accuracy, a little more accurate than we thought, going into this season, his second year. But really, I wish they can just go put up more points, based off the past few games. And the Patriots have a very underrated defense, a very good defense. So I think the Bills could struggle to score. They are home, and they could keep this game close, though. The next game, I got the Titans winning 21-17. So another one of those upsets I got. +4 for the Titans. I got them winning. It's a toss-up, too, because, what Titans team is going to show up? It's same with the Falcons. What Falcons team is going to show up? Really, I don't think the real Falcons, like the good Falcons, have showed up once this year. The Titans, the first game, even the game that the Falcons won, it was a sloppy game on both sides. Why did I pick the Titans? What's the difference here is the Titans defense. I think there's a very good defense. I know Gardner Minshew was able to make some solid throws. Matt Ryan could do that. He's been struggling, though, and the Titans will stop the run first, which I like. And they're just kind of going to make Matt Ryan throw the ball downfield. And I don't know if you can have a whole bunch of success doing that on the Titans. So that's why I got their defense winning this one here. And a big reason why Matt Ryan's been struggling is that offensive line, which I, kind of expected going in this year. And they had some injuries on top of it. So this is kind of a rough offensive line. Titans' offensive line has been rough too, but they went against the Jags pass rush last week. Now it's the Falcons. But You never know. In Atlanta, maybe the Falcons get another win here, but my edge here is the Titans defense. That's the difference. 21-17 Titans is my feeling. Chiefs and Lions. 31-20 Chiefs. Lions been playing really good, but they haven't played the Chiefs. And, I think they can potentially score more points than this too. This is kind of just my original feeling there. I got to stick with my initial thought here. And the Chiefs defense, we don't really have a firm, we don't know their identity, I guess, all that much right now. It's been looking pretty good. Against the Raiders. They let up 10 points right away. That's pretty much what they held them to. And I know the Ravens got some late points last week, but for the most part, it was a very good defensive performance. So it's kind of on Stafford. He's got to, pretty much the whole Lions team has impressed me except Stafford. I don't want to say he's been, disappointing or played bad and nothing like that, but I want him to do more. Can he go out and do more? He has been able to be more of a game manager at times because of the way the defense has been playing. But in this game, obviously playing the Chiefs, I want to see him do more. Can he do that? And how will this Chiefs defense play? I know their offense will play pretty well. I think the reason the Lions been winning games is because the defensive game plan, actually. I think they're very unique. Good at disguising things. The quarterback can't really tell what's coming at him. And I don't know if that'll affect Mahomes. I really don't think it could, but I just don't think it will. And that's why I have the edge to the Chiefs. They're -6. I think if it stays under a touchdown, that could be a solid one. I think they should at very least win by a touchdown. The Lions are home. To me, the Lions, for some reason, maybe just me, maybe my opinion, they haven't really been a team, recently that it really doesn't really matter if they're home or away. They just got to go out and play their game and execute. That's just kind of my thoughts on them. Most teams are a lot better home. I don't know if they're that much of a difference. We will see, though. This is a game where we're gonna learn a lot from this game. We really are. Next game, the Raiders and the Colts. I got it somewhat close here, 24-28. The Colts have some injuries. That's why it's tough. No T.Y. Hilton, no Malik Hooker. Darius Leonard should be back, so that's good. But they actually played very well without him too, but obviously they're better with him. One of the better linebackers, maybe the best linebacker in football. Not named Bobby Wagner or Luke Kuechly. Those guys are inside linebackers. But yeah, no T.Y. Hilton and Malik Hooker's a big one. I think that's almost bigger. I know T.Y. Hilton's one of the better receivers in football, but I think you can make it work. I think Paris Campbell could be a guy to look out for here against this Raiders secondary. Basically, I think because of the Raiders defense, no Jonathan Abram, I think you can open things up really regardless of who the receivers are. I know you're better with T.Y. Hilton, but mainly Malik Hooker being out, and the Raiders I think are very capable of throwing the ball downfield. We haven't seen it really in a couple weeks since week 1, but I think they'll kind of get going here. Not a whole bunch, but I think they'll kind of get going. But the Colts at home, I think they're the better team. And they can get a turnover here on defense as well, and that could be the difference. That 6.5 is tough. That's tough. I have it a 4-point game, but it's tough because how much of a difference, will the Colts be without Hooker and T.Y. Hilton? Can the Raiders get things going? We still don't really have a firm grasp on what they are because week 1 they look fantastic, and since then it's just it's been pretty bad. So we're learning here still in week 4. Usually the first 3 weeks are where it's kind of like random things happen. It's kind of just get out of there with a win, and then we start learning. We've seen teams start 0-3, start 3-0, and then kind of blow it. See it every single year. So we're going to learn a lot in a lot of these games here. That should be a closer one, closer than you think, in my opinion. The Chargers and the Dolphins. This one could be a little closer too. I don't know if they'll absolutely blow them out. The Chargers, what could be the reason for the struggles right now? Well, the classic Chargers. They start off a little slow. They lose some games early. So it passed my mind. It crossed my mind that could it continue here into week 4, and could they actually lose to the Dolphins? And there is a possibility. Rosen looks pretty solid, but in Miami, that's a tough place to play. Miami always has a very good home record. I think this is one of the weaker teams in a while, though, just because the way they set it up. It's trading everybody. It's a little bit of a disaster. The Chargers, they have to win this game. It's really a must-win. If you lose this game, it's not looking good. And I think they're the better team, and really that's why. -16.5, it's a little too much. I mean, either way, because the Chargers can really blow them out too. So it's a tough one. But I went with 28-13. Not really one of the games I'm looking forward to this week, but it will be interesting. I guess I have my eye on it early, see if the Chargers continue to struggle. But we saw they started off very well last game against Texans, up 17-7, and kind of blew that. So they got to figure it out. Their pass rush really needs to figure it out because I thought they would be, maybe the best of the best this year, and still plenty of time to get there. Redskins and Giants, I got a very close one. I got a 1-point game, and news coming out just moments ago, actually right before I started recording this, is Keenum is in a walking boot and he is not practicing. It really doesn't change my opinion, even if Haskins is playing, which is kind of odd because getting his first start, kind of a failing situation so far. It's still early for the Redskins. Not really good, especially the offensive line playing the way it is without Trent Williams. But I think he's got something to prove, especially against the Giants. It's like it's scripted. So that's what it feels like if Haskins plays. Either way, the Giants are a team you can throw the ball downfield on, and they don't have the best pass rush. The Redskins really struggle to throw the ball because of the insane Chicago Bears pass rush and the playmakers they have in the secondary. That is not the Giants. Totally different team. I worry about Daniel Jones taking care of the ball more than Keenum if Keenum plays, or Haskins in this point, because Daniel Jones takes one hit and on a sack could be a strip sack. And we've seen that multiple times preseason and last week too, 2 fumbles. So I do worry about that. I think Kerrigan and Montez Sweat, Jonathan Allen, those guys can get after him. But a close game. If Barkley was playing in this one, that actually could be the difference. But I'm feeling the Redskins in this one. But +3. Keep an eye on that one. I guess we'll see. Maybe you're more confident with a different quarterback, with one of the quarterbacks. So that's what makes it tricky. Haskins didn't look that great in preseason, so people may not be able to trust him that much right now in his first start. He's got something to prove against the Giants. He thought he was going to be a New York Giant here, so you can't script this any better if he ends up playing. So even though it's 2 teams that we don't expect in the playoffs, I'm definitely looking forward to a game like that even more if Haskins is playing. But if Keenum is playing, like I said, I think he can throw the ball downfield. The Browns and the Ravens, I think a little closer than people think too, 23-27. I'm still waiting for the Browns to kind of break out. Thought they would do it last week while I still said the Rams would win the game. Either the Browns would kind of break out, but more on offense. They did so on defense, oddly enough, because some of the guys in the secondary were out. It's just unpredictable NFL, I guess. But the Ravens haven't really played much yet, They played the Chiefs. They lost. They looked pretty darn good on the other teams, but you can't really say they've played anybody good or really impressed. I was impressed with the team last year going into this year, so I'm not trying to hate on them at all, but I just want to see them go out and play against a better team. Browns have been struggling, but can pick it up. Still waiting on Baker to pick it up, but I think it could be a close game, close division rival game here. I like the Ravens, though. Lamar Jackson versus Baker battle right here, and it's interesting to see. Baker was like that clear-cut best guy last year from that class, and now it's looking like Lamar Jackson. So very interesting here. See if Mark Ingram. I think Mark Ingram can have another good day here on the ground. Very impressive last week. But I do like this Ravens defense as well. At this point we were kind of thinking, okay, before the season, I should say, at this point we will be looking at maybe the best offense in the division versus the best defense. But it really, the way it looks right now, it could be both on the Ravens side. But again, I want to see them continue to do that and do it against some better teams here. And I know the Browns haven't looked like one of the better teams, but this is still a tough game, division game here. But I got the Ravens 27-23. 7-point favorite there. They could win by a score. That's very possible, but I think a little closer than people think. Next game, I got the Texans winning 28-20. They're -4.5. I'm kind of feeling this one. I'm kind of feeling that the Texans -4.5. I think they win by, it should be over a touchdown. You see, I have them winning by 8 points there. They could even do some more damage. The Panthers defense, has been actually looking pretty solid, but I really think, there's a lot of young players in that team, so they're going to have their hiccups here. They're going to have their moments where, they got to improve. It's just a bunch of guys with potential, and they can play good like they did last week, but I just kind of got a feeling that the Texans offense could, just really show them up, really put up the points. They even could get in the 30s, the more I'm talking about, it's possible. The Panthers still don't really got a grasp on what their offense is like, too. Kyle Allen looked really good. The Texans really don't have the best defense out there. It's not bad, but so I guess they can put up the points again. McCaffrey could have a solid day. I just like the Texans in this one. I think -4.5, if it stays like that, I think it's a pretty solid one. I don't know if Kyle Allen has another performance like that. I think he plays solid, but I don't know if it's going to be that, impactful for them to win the game or put up that many points. I like the Texans at home in this one. I think their offense can get going here. Next game, I got the Bucs scoring 17, the Rams scoring 28, so I barely have the Rams covering. I was surprised it was that high, honestly. The reason for the Bucs, I know I did pick the Rams. I am confident about it. I think they'll kind of put up the points, but the reason for the Bucs is Goff has not been good under pressure, and the Bucs I don't really view as a good pass rush, unit, but they do have Shaquille Barrett, who's leading the NFL in sacks, which, we'll see if that keeps up, but he's been impressive so far. And if he can, get after Goff all day, that could be the difference. I think the Rams and McVay will just have a game plan for that, mainly for Barrett. It's kind of just shut down Barrett. And then he'll have some time. I think a bounce-back game for Goff. I think he struggled last week against the Browns. I think especially at home here, I think a bounce-back game, they can score at least 28 points, I think. And then the Buccaneers, predicting where the Buccaneers will be is the tough part because which Rams defense will show up, inconsistent. And then which Winston will show up, one of the more inconsistent quarterbacks. 1 week looks like a Pro Bowler. 1 week looks just like a third stringer, like he doesn't belong in the league. So which guy's going to show up there? I don't expect the Bucs to get any running game going, so it's just kind of like one-sided there. The Rams will just plan. Defensively, they'll plan for just to stop the pass here and try to, be playmakers, try to get some turnovers here. So I do like the Rams in that one, even though it's cutting it pretty close there to the 10-point favorite line. Seahawks and Cardinals. I got the Seahawks scoring a whopping 34. That might be a little bit of a hot take. Been disappointing. Even the games they've won, they've been a little bit disappointing. I just feel like they can go out and do more and put teams away. After coming off their first loss, then it can light a fire from underneath them there. I think they'll really get going. And what it hasn't been getting going that we saw last year, what the Seahawks were at best in the league was the run offense. The Chris Carson mainly, but they got a pretty good group too. But Carson hasn't been playing all that well. I think he gets going in this one. I think Russell Wilson can use his legs. I think he can open up the passing game a little more too. I think they really score it up here. It is a division game in Arizona, so that could scare you enough. But I like the Seahawks -5. I liked them last week against the Saints too, even with the line, and that backfired. But they had that fumble for 6 and a punt return for 6. Don't think that happens. You know how that can set the tone too. It really can set it and change the momentum of the game. So you take those away or one of those away, it could be a different game. And they're playing it's not the Saints, it's the Cardinals. So I think they can score it up. But if they're running very well, this is the downside of 34 points. If they're running extremely well, as good as I think they're going to run, maybe they'll just continue to do it for the whole game. It wastes some clock. Maybe it'd be hard to get to 34. But I'm kind of thinking a mixture of it, and I think they'll. I think Carson or whoever it may be, anybody in that group, I think they can break some big runs. I really do. I think so. So -5 looking pretty good for Seattle. Next game is the Vikings and the Bears. NFC North battle. This is a tough one. Tough one to put money on too, because it is in Chicago. But I have the Vikings winning in a very tight one, 17-14. What it comes down to is Cousins versus Trubisky, both quarterbacks that definitely can hurt their team and count them out of it, take them out of it, I should say. But which one do I trust a little more? I trust even away. I trust Cousins a little more. And I also think the Vikings have the edge on the running game offensively too. Defensively, there's not too many proven defenses in the NFL, but you got two of them right here. Especially in Chicago, you may give the edge to the Bears. Keem Hicks, a little shaken up after last game. He's supposed to play, but that scares me a little bit. How many snaps is going to be on the field? Because he's the key to stopping Dalvin Cook. If he's not in the game, Dalvin Cook can continue to be him there. So that's. There's a lot of things that can go back and forth. I just not a lot of trust in Trubisky right now. I think he can improve. I just haven't seen it at all yet. It's almost like he stayed the same, and kind of people are trying to they are kind of figuring him out by just watching his film. But he needs to step up, especially in a game like this. The Bears really didn't impress me until last week, but it was mainly. This Redskins game, the past Monday night game, but it was mainly the defense. So one of these teams, maybe they could win the game on defense. They may have to. But if I look at the offenses, is there somebody that can win the game for them on offense? I think it'd be the Vikings running attack. Even though I don't think it's going to be crazy like it has been, because this Bears defense is super impressive. But obviously, if the Bears pass rush does what they did against the Redskins, I know it's a little different team here, but get after Cousins like that, they can force just even one turnover or one or two turnovers. That could be the difference, kind of like last year. Vikings offensive line is looking improved, though, but here's a true test. It's definitely a true test. Playing the Raiders last week when it looked really, really good, pass blocking and run blocking, it's not really the biggest test. So I guess we'll see here. I'd say this one, these games are always close. Even the years the Vikings are just bad and the Bears are really good, or the opposite, the games just seems to be close all the time. So for that reason, it's not one I put money on here because it's just one of those NFC North rival games, always close. It's a tough call. Jags and Broncos, another close one here. I got the Broncos winning 16-13, and right there with the line there, Broncos are -3. I was surprised the Broncos were -3 too. I figured the Jags actually would be favored after I predicted the score. But I think the Broncos will make this kind of one way to stop them on defense. They're just going to stop the pass. I think they know they can stop the run here. I don't like the Jags running scheme at all. It's a solid line. These guys can block. They can pass protect. I just don't like their scheme. It looks like a gap scheme at times, and I think that's what's making it tough for Fournette to have created space, and he's hesitating a little bit. Not all of his fault because sometimes there's constantly guys in the backfield. I just don't know if they'll be able to Run, and I think the Broncos, I think Vic Fangio, he's 0-3 is his new job as a head coach. He's a very good defensive mind. I think they'll know that. They'll try to stop the pass. I don't think Minshew will do anything crazy. I don't think he'll be bad, but I think they'll make sure they slow him down enough. And I think the Broncos are getting better on offense slowly as the year has gone on. And people may laugh at that, but I definitely think they are. They opened up. It's mainly the short game, but they've opened it up a little bit. Flacco's hitting his open receivers. They were moving the ball. They were just turning it over last week. And we seen the end of the Bears game. Flacco threw a pick on the second to last drive, but they moved it all the way down there and put themselves in scoring position. And the next drive, their last drive of the game, they went down there and did the same thing. Unfortunately, they came up with the loss. And like I said, against the Packers, they were moving the ball pretty darn well, almost better than the Packers earlier in the game. They just kept turning the ball over. I know the Jags defense is pretty good too, but I think they're slowly, just very slowly, going in the right direction and getting that rhythm. And the running back duo looks pretty good for the Broncos, but obviously they're not going to win this game on the offensive side. I think just the game plan on defense, like I explained, could be the difference. But if Calais Campbell plays the way he does and Josh Allen, all those guys, that could be the difference as well. They may be able to get after the quarterback after Flacco like they did Mariota, and that was the big-time difference. So that would be the reason for the Jags. Close game, tough call. Cowboys and Saints. I got a 7-point win here for the Cowboys. I'm pretty confident about them winning, but I was confident about the Seahawks beating the Saints last week. This one is in New Orleans, but it's going to be tough for the Saints to push the ball. They're going to need a defensive touchdown. Will they get it on Dak? They may need a special teams touchdown again. Will they get it against this complete team like the Cowboys? If I were to go against the Cowboys here, what my reasoning would be, they haven't really played anybody that solid yet, so maybe they're not, maybe this is kind of almost like a week one thing, maybe this is going to hit them like it's a true challenge in New Orleans, Sunday night, so maybe it affects them like that. I guess that is the downside, but the Cowboys are, we see how they played last year against a fully healthy Saints team. They're capable of that against a Drew Brees Saints team. I believe in Teddy Bridgewater. He can be solid. I just don't know if he's going to do enough to win this game here. I don't know if Camaro will play good, but I don't know if he'll run wild. I like the Cowboys in this game, but again, the small part of me here that is scaring me a little bit is because, like I said, this is kind of the first true challenge they had. Even though Drew Brees is out, it's still a big time challenge. A very good team in New Orleans, but I got them winning by 7 here. And then the terrible Monday night game, the Bengals and Steelers. I got the Steelers winning by 3. It's a toss-up. I kind of believe in the Bengals early in the season because they're usually pretty solid early in the season, and they kind of let me down there. The Steelers have been, disappointing, unfortunately, mainly because of the injury. But Mason Rudolph last week, a lot of pressure, knowing he's going to start all week, kind of has to go in there. Didn't expect too much last week. Now, I don't think there is as much pressure. Maybe you could argue that because it's Monday night, but I think he goes in there. I think he plays a pretty solid game, nothing crazy, solid game. He may not turn it over. Maybe Jesse Bates picks him off once. Very random of me to say that, but possibly. But I think the Steelers' pass rush could be the difference. Something they have. The Bengals are, I don't want to say don't have, but kind of lacking a little bit on. And even on the offensive line, there. So I think the Steelers could really get in there. And they're -4. I'm kind of winning by 3. Pretty close call. We'll do my locks of the week video tomorrow. The games I'm really feeling confident on in terms of the line. In terms of straight up, in terms of over-under, and upsets of the week. I do all that on Thursdays, my locks of the week every single week. So just this video, score predictions for every game. We'll be back with it every single week. Also have straight up picks with the other boys of the Goat House on the channel already. We also have updated power rankings on the channel already. Update those every week. All kinds of recaps, college football content, mock drafts. We got you covered here at the Goat House. So please subscribe. We would appreciate you very much. Thanks for watching this video. Goodbye.